Hey everyone, and welcome to the Open Minds podcast, where we try to open each other to different perspectives and remain open-minded to all incoming thoughts and opinions. I'm Niral.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Cole.
And we're high school seniors from outside Philadelphia. While listening, we hope you guys keep an open mind with us.
In a world that's too closed-minded, we're here to help you open yours, 'cause we're the Open Minds.
So, I think yesterday was a striking example of being confronted with what we talked about in episode 2, of confronting oppressive behavior. And it's like with shame a little bit that I say I kind of failed on what we talked about, and kind of attacking that type of behavior at its source. Yesterday I was with, I don't want to say anything to give away the identity of said individual, but there was like a situation where there was a homosexual couple and somebody referred to the as the F slur several times in front of me.
Oh my God.
And I froze. I really froze.
Yeah.
I think I kind of want to just revisit this in the beginning, because when we had a conversation about it, it was very candid, and it was it wasn't necessarily black and white. There was some gray, but there wasn't the rest of the rainbow. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't really account for every single dynamic, and I just want to elaborate on that a little bit. Like, there's a block, like a mental block, I'd say, when you see this behavior. It is so difficult to say something.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like I not only was I in shock and incredibly uncomfortable, I kind of just like shut down.
Yeah, it's definitely shut down. I remember, I think we did talk about a little bit like the difficulty, how like it's literally, it's a situation where you kind of feel like they automatically have power over you in a way. Like, you shouldn't go against someone if they're saying something like that, because I don't know why. I guess maybe it's your brain thinks, oh, if you do that, it's a threat, so don't engage. But like, I don't know. I think it is really difficult, and it's all about having the courage. It kind of reminds me of a quote from Game of Thrones with Robert Stark. You know, Robert, yeah, Rip, died in the Red Wedding. Anyways,
Spoilers.
Robert Stark said, he asked his father Ned one time, like, how can a man be brave if he's afraid? You know, and Ned Stark said, like, that's the only time a man can be brave, if he's afraid. And it just kind of reminds me of that, and I feel like that's always what we have to do, that even if we are afraid, we have to be brave, because that's what bravery is about. Someone who doesn't have any fear and goes into a situation isn't brave, because they're not overcoming anything. You know what I mean? But it's difficult to have that, you know?
Yeah, another aspect that I think we covered a little bit, but it's being caught off guard, right? Like, you don't expect anybody around you to have that type of, like, any type of reaction that's like that in any way.
That's totally it. Yeah.
So if you're caught off guard, it becomes even harder to even, like, have a reaction of any sort. Like, even confronting it's out of the question. Just like, even just being shocked at like somebody who you know or somebody around you.
And I think also it was especially striking because it didn't come from, sometimes we see like this type of behavior come from like a place of like non-malice. Like, sometimes it's not meant to be hateful. That doesn't change it being hateful, but it changes the context. Mm-hmm. And what was so striking about this incident was that it came from a place of hate.
Yeah.
It wasn't comedic. It wasn't lighthearted. It was hateful. Like, the intent was to insult and place like superiority over them. And when somebody breaks a rule like that you have so like deeply ingrained in your person, where like you cannot behave that way, it makes it feel like they have a different moral compass than you a little bit, and they can break rules that you can't. And I think that's where that power dynamic comes in. But I just want to reiterate, like, I'm sure there are times in everybody's life where they see this behavior and they feel bad for not saying it. Like, I was like, after it happened, I texted you immediately, and I was just I was like upset I didn't say anything. Yeah. Like, I was shaken that I didn't do anything. And I want to, now that I've like reflected on it, I want to like just say that not saying something in the moment is like it's wrong, but like you can't blame yourself for it. I feel like.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily wrong. I think it's like the right thing to do is to say something, but just because you don't do it doesn't mean you're sinning. For example,
not sinning, but like not walking the walk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I want to use an example. Like, I could give $100 to a homeless person right now. Like, why don't I do that? That's not wrong because I'm not doing it, yet it's still the right thing to do. So it's the right thing to do to speak up. But I like how you're speaking about how difficult it is. And we're all called to speak up, and we have to. But it's so difficult to do because, like Niral, you were saying, you're in shock. You're caught off guard. Yeah. You don't know how to react because it's out of left field that people say these racist, sexist, and homophobic things. Yeah. And I think also your mind kind of thinks that if you do speak up, that everybody's going to gang up against you. Mm-hmm. And so like in the situation you were in, Jake, I imagine that if you did speak up, that like people would have been like, oh, calm down. Like it's not a big deal, but it really is a big deal, someone being blatantly homophobic. But I feel like people would have then ganged up against you, which is hard to face. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I think also like there's a sort of individualism and an aloneness that you feel because
exactly
why isn't everybody else feeling the same way? I didn't notice visible uncomfortability from everybody else in the room. Mm-hmm. I looked for it. I did. I searched. I looked at other faces and looked for other people who were uncomfortable, and I didn't see it. And that might be even more scary, because of how normalized it is. Yeah. And yeah, it just. You're right. I can't take any of the moral responsibility for that stuff, but like you can be disappointed in yourself, and Absolutely. I think that's where it comes from. That's where like that wrong feeling comes from. Not necessarily being wrong, but that feeling of I failed doing something that like after that conversation I felt empowered. You know what I mean? Like you talked about that in Thoughts with the Cast, being like, okay, I'm ready to take this sentiment out in the world. Mm-hmm. And when confronted with it, I struggled, and I think that's where that disappointment comes in.
Yeah, and I get that, absolutely. Like, I'd be disappointed as well. Mm-hmm. The only thing we can do is keep our head up, and next time a situation like that comes is hopefully be more prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think also it's difficult to be the first one to speak up. Like, if there's another person who speaks up first, I think it's easier to be, okay, I completely agree with you. Why are you saying that? And, like, being the first one is difficult, but I think you need to surround yourself with people who, like, are, like, obviously good people could still do bad things, but you surround yourself with people who are good and will speak up against this and can give it a chance, and you can back up or even, like, be a part of it.
I agree. It's very easy to latch on to someone else when they've already done it, Yeah. Like, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I have an ally with this. I'm not going it alone. But the loneliness is, I think, a key part of it, because I do think, Jake, if you would have said something that you would have been unfortunately alone in some sense, that you think what he said was vile and terrible, but they didn't.
And I think like it's another like complex dynamic where like if I said something, there's that unknown reality that if I said something, would I be joined in like a symphony of confronting this behavior, or would I be the sole person condemning it? Mm-hmm. And I think both are scary, but like I don't know, that unknown, unpredictable factor of will I like have assistance in tackling this, or will I be alone is especially like that unpredictability and an idea of like that dynamic being unknown is it's scary. It's like yeah. I don't know. I just thought I'd talk about it because I didn't want to preach something on a podcast and then not live up to it. And I think like being open about something in your life and like how you react and how you want to react in the future is important. So if you guys ever experience that, please bring it on. I think it's a great thing to talk about.
No, I agree. Next time this happens, we just got to hope we'll do, what we want to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, it's just extremely difficult. So, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't.
Okay. Sorry for that mood start. It's a good conversation, but obviously it's an intriguing mood.
Yeah.
How's your weekend?
My weekend was good.
How is your weekend?
Well, right now, it's currently Saturday. What's it called? Yesterday, I edited a movie all day that I'm editing, and I missed the episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier this week. Did you watch that?
I didn't watch it either. Apparently, it was really good.
I heard it was like crazy,
I'm gonna watch it now.
but maybe we'll watch it after or whatever.
I turned 18 yesterday.
Oh yeah,
Plug that.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, belated birthday.
belated.
Thank you. I registered to vote.
Democrat, Republican, what's it going to be? Independent?
We're open-minded on this podcast, but I'm a registered Democrat. And I also received the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine.
Ah,
Nice.
So the first, and you've received it, Cole. So that's 2 people immune.
I had the virus.
Yeah. Oh, I meant received the virus.
The virus,
not
yeah.
the vaccine.
that's a weird way to
So
put
we
it.
got that was almost the worst way.
You
put it.
received
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
vaccine.
that was
You
terrible. That was a
received the virus.
horrible way to say it. My apologies. But yeah, we're almost at 100% of open minds.
Open minds, immunity.
Immunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost the most important immunity. If you talk about herd immunity, I'm worried about the trio over here.
Neural, how was your weekend?
It was good.
Your weekend?
Yeah, the weekend's going pretty good. We had like first like back to school week, which was tough. Like not tough, but it was just like getting back into something. I think was different. I was feeling like more tired than I usually was. I don't know about
Me
you guys,
too.
but,
Yes.
I was feeling so much more tired.
I was feeling so tired this week, and I was feeling so sick of work. I tried to get out of so many homework assignments. I got my way around so many. Like, there's a difference between doing the homework assignment and trying to get the homework assignment done in the easiest way possible.
No, I totally get that.
And usually I just get the homework assignment done. This week I try to get it done in the most like easy way possible. So if in like French class I'm told to read like a French thing and pick out like 5 vocab words, for example, this is just hypothetical. Like I won't read it and I'll just look for 5 vocab words and just put them in. And it'll take me significantly less time.
Yeah. I've definitely started. When I open my Schoology is like where we can see it's like our assignment docket. It's like where we can see everything in our calendar. And when I open my Schoology page now, it has gone from let's tackle this homework to how can I get around this homework. I'm strategizing the method of like least resistance instead of tackling it now, which is fine. It's not too bad. It's our 4th quarter of our senior year. I've decided where I'm attending. We'll get to that May 1st, elaborate. But I'm going to the University of Pittsburgh. And I think what's funny is like I got my first B ever this quarter.
Wow.
The 4th quarter, I got my first B of all of high school.
Is that including B pluses or is it just like the first B?
No, it's the first B.
Wow.
The first B.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's impressive.
If that doesn't represent how we're feeling right now, Jake Lorenz getting a B in his senior year, then I don't know what does. Because
I was thinking about it and I was like, this is AP Calc 2. I don't know this. I'm looking at the class. We had a homework assignment last night. I turned that video. I watched it. I watched the first 2 seconds of the video. And I looked at it and I go, that's not real. Like, what prank is this? And I simply was like, you know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
I'm just so sick of it. Like, my expectation is no homework, no school at this point. And teachers are like, no, I have to give you an assignment. I'm sorry, why do you have to give me an assignment? They think they're bounded by, and I understand why they give assignments, but they think they're bounded by, like, the rules of their boss, you know?
I think that's probably the funniest thing about Cole Kelly in quarter 4 is the first class after Easter break we got back. I heard him individually ask every single teacher, will this quarter be easy? Yes or no?
Well, I didn't ask it like that. I asked every teacher, except maybe in like one class, I forgot, every teacher, because I'm genuinely interested and I need to know. And so I can set myself up with the correct expectations. I asked every teacher, I was like, is this quarter going to be lighter than usual? Because I need to know. Because, listen, we're going to college, hopefully.
And if the answer was no, I feel like there was just pushback from the whole
class. This is my issue, is that everybody said yes, but I'm feeling it's not that light. I have 2 calc homework assignments,
every single night.
Most of the week, next week. I have a test next week. I know damn well I'm going to have French homework, and that takes forever. Like, it's so aggravating. I want a break, but I understand why we're not getting one. I could talk about this for hours, so I say we just...
Do you want to talk about your admission news?
I think we leave that to May. I think.
Leave the whole. Okay, we'll leave it all to May.
I think we leave everything to May that
Okay.
we've heard.
That's fair.
Hey, that could be good news I heard, or bad news. You guys don't know.
Well,
To be
some-
heard on a future Open Mind podcast episode.
Yeah.
Okay. I
No,
think-
it was good news.
it was good news. Okay, let's spin the wheel.
wheel spot.
We'll stop.
Is Cole's topic first? Go ahead, Cole.
All right, my topic isn't that big, but I just wanted to kind of talk about like makeup. Like, you know, the I'm trying to think of the definition for it. I'm doing the hand motions. Makeup, you know, the
Cosmetic products.
cosmetics,
on your
that's the word. I was about to say condiments.
face. Y'all don't put ketchup on your face every morning?
But I just kind of want to talk about makeup and cosmetics and kind of like I feel like the double standard of beauty between men and women. And I feel like our standard is like a lot lower than women's. And I feel like that's just like totally unfair. I just want to kind of talk about that. Like, what do you guys think?
What do you mean, like lower standard of beauty? Like, I don't understand.
So, like women have, like, I feel like they're expected to, unfortunately, you know, put on makeup and, you know, shave their armpits, shave their legs, like all this and that. Like there's so much more for them that I think they have to do that we don't, which I think is totally unfair.
Yeah.
And I think on the argument of makeup, like I know people have fun during it, like good. Like if you want to put it on, good. But I don't want people to feel pressured to. And like even like more specific, like armpits, you know what I mean? Like women shouldn't have to shave their armpits. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's weird.
And their legs. Like I feel like it's just a standard that is so like I didn't shave today. I didn't have the time, unfortunately. But like and it's not that big of a deal. You know, but if someone sees a woman with armpit hair, I feel like they're gonna think something of it, which it shouldn't be anything. You know, I think we should change our expectations. That's what I
it
think.
is so crazy how much easier it is to like appear attractive as a man than a woman. Like, I mean, face products, hair products, the cost of getting your hair done, the cost of products to like the cost of cosmetic products, and like so many other factors where like I feel like for women there's a standard that they have to have like a beautifying process.
Yeah, and we have like to that point, we have like shampoos that are 3-in-1. I know.
There's one that's like 27-in-1.
Yeah.
It's like a joke. Like a company made a 27-in-1 shampoo that is like laundry detergent, fabric softener. It does dishes,
and
like,
it does your hair.
So
I wouldn't use that.
I would never use that.
I would never touch it.
I know damn well though that all of us probably use like the 2-in-1.
2-in-1.
Yeah, 3-in-1. Jake,
I
you
would
don't.
not be caught dead using a 3-in-1. But to that point, I think that's like a very common standard for like men to have. Like it just there's not like do you guys have like skincare routines?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't do anything.
Really?
I like do nothing.
And like that's the standard. Like I feel like women are expected to like I don't know. There's just so much. I think hair removal is the biggest thing.
Hair removal is the biggest thing, which I think is kind of ridiculous.
Isn't it crazy? Like there's a social expectation that you should not have biological material where they're like where it just biologically appears.
And it's this one.
Is that crazy? Just think about that.
Very weird.
It's the same thing with makeup, and it's like, oh my gosh, like you have pimples all over your face, like you need to wear concealer or whatever it is. Like it shouldn't. We need to start accepting how people actually look. I feel like we're kind of setting up this kind of unrealistic standards for women, which just shouldn't exist at all. I think our standard should be, you know, just the natural way someone looks. You know what I mean?
And I think it's like it is so striking how based on gender it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like it is such a one-sided industry, and I think men who participate in the industry are regarded as feminine. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like makeup is just a socially a feminine thing. And I think that's where you get into conversation about the pink tax. If you guys are familiar with the pink tax, are you, Cole?
I'm not.
No. So the pink tax is it's a social theory that being a woman is more expensive, both in terms.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but people like that. It extends. It is like a social, like structural, economic barrier to women, like where feminine deodorant can cost up to double as male deodorant. Razors, shaving cream, hair products, getting your hair done, getting your nails done. There's that
makeup.
entire dynamic. Yeah, makeup. But like even the dynamic of like your hands. Like pedicures and like
Botox.
manicures are expensive,
Yeah.
and like all of these things just cost so much money.
Yeah.
And like feminine razors costing like twice as much as like male razors. Like it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
And just that like women are forced to purchase, or not necessarily forced, but socially expected to purchase and spend just so much more money on their cosmetic appearance, which I think is a structural barrier to success and a structural barrier to equality, because it puts value in the appearance of women that is not reciprocated in the appearance of men.
Yeah, I think it's stemming from, I don't know for sure, but I would think it's stemming from just like sexism back in the 1900s or like even before then, where women are like expected to be there to be for the men and like be beautiful for the men, and men were just never like that. I think, I don't know, I feel like the argument is always that we need to tell like men to be less like be more accepting of women that don't use things. But I think it's also equally
Like the natural appearance.
natural appearance. But I think it's also like equally important to say like women should be supporting other women who are more natural, and women should be supporting other women who don't do these things, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like things like magazine covers and all these things were like edited all these pictures and all the things going on. Even like recently, who was, I think, Khloe Kardashian or something like that.
I'm not entirely sure, but I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, like look at the transformation of that family through plastic surgery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like there is just a standard.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
what we're saying is like you have to be able to also promote equally
Yeah.
being natural and being
Yeah.
like not having all these procedures done, not even spending all this money like you were saying, Jake, on these types of things.
Yeah, like it's like if you want to wear makeup, great. Like if you like that, good. Like I'm not trying to in any way take away what people enjoy, because I know some of the women in my life, it kind of stinks that only women I know put makeup on. Like it'd be kind of, it'd be a different story if everybody put makeup on.
Yeah.
But I know some of the women in my life, like actually don't mind putting on makeup, but that's not where the standard should be. You know, so if you want to do that, great. But like for everyone else, the standard should be, I think, at like a normal, should be at just like your natural appearance,
Yeah.
because that's where it is for us.
And I think like there's definitely something to be said about makeup as an art, right? Like people like
Absolutely.
who have like eyeshadow and stuff like that. Like it can look amazing.
Oh yeah.
Well, look what makeup does in movies.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I think it's an important conversation to bring in mental health to this, right? Like, if people are deeply hurt by a part of themselves, like physically, and that can be like changed. Like, if they feel more comfortable with Botox or a nose job, like, I think there's something to be said. I want to actually ask you guys about this. Like, is there a difference between accepting the normalcy of how you look if you hate like a physical feature of yourself, or like remedying it through like some type of surgery or change?
That's a good question, actually,
because like you don't know how deep that mental health struggle is, right? Like,
Mhm.
can it be changed by natural? Like, is normalcy and acceptance of yourself like possible? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
So you're saying like,
would that person be happy just being natural?
exactly
Yeah,
like
because we talk about how like this is a standard that women have to have, but it's also I think it's a standard imposed by men historically, because women have historically had to the idea of appeasement of your partner through physical attractiveness. But I think it also corresponds to now that it's so deeply, deeply normalized in society that it's also an expectation of women upon themselves, not just imposed by men, right? Like if men were erasing the planet, you probably wouldn't see women getting rid of all makeup, right? Like
No.
it is like a lot of it is self-appeasement, even if it was historically started by men.
that's the key, is that it's not a it's a socially like, as it's all of society that has to kind of change our opinion. It's not just
It's unilateral.
yeah, it's not just people who are attracted to women who need to change their standards. It's like, not that people need to change
Oh,
their
thank you.
standards. but-
Thank you for making that distinction for me.
Yeah, exactly.
thank you,
because like anybody could be
Yeah,
attracted to a woman,
thank you.
non-binary woman,
Mhm.
female, male. But anyways, it's up to everybody to kind of start accepting people just for whatever they want to be. You know, I feel, and it's just this barrier. You know, it's not just men; it's women too. You know, I feel like some women will have an opinion of another woman if if her hair isn't perfect and she doesn't have her nails done, and like, let's say she bites her nails or something and she doesn't wear a bra. Can you believe women wear bras? I feel like that is...
Very weird.
I know some women like to wear bras. So I'm not anti-bra. I'm just saying like that's just another thing they have to do that like we don't have to do.
And the fact that like there's just zero equivalency. In like just how traditional men like dress. Like there is just absolutely no equivalent comparison. It just doesn't exist, you know? I think that's how you know it's deeply rooted in sexism.
Yeah.
Because like you can look at like how do you know that something's deeply rooted in race? Because it only affects one race. This is sexist because it only affects women.
Only affects one gender.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder on the situation of bras, is there a reason, I forget, is there a scientific reason to wear bras or is that another beauty standard?
I think it was another beauty, like because women used to wear corsets too. I think it was just part of the ensemble.
Oh my god, they look painful. They
I'm not so sure.
Like those things just choke your weight. It's horrible.
God.
I don't know. I feel like it's like completely just unfair in every aspect.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, next time we see a woman with armpit hair, like, let's be like, yeah, hell yeah, let's embrace it. You know what I mean? Like, if I had to shave my legs and shave my armpits, by the way, wouldn't that hurt? I think that's a sensitive area.
Yeah.
I think that would hurt. And then I don't know, what else would I have to do? I'd have to wear a bra and like all this and that. I would be so aggravated.
And like your face probably just feels heavier. You feel like probably like drugged down by all of it. Like it can't be productive. And also like the fact that like, you know, we're talking about, this is a standard that was imposed in the time where women were primarily of the household, right?
Yeah.
And now that there is such a professionalism of women, right, in the workplace, it's crazy that standard is still the same, right?
Yeah.
Women are not only expected to look a certain way, dress a certain way, wear certain clothes, but now they're expected to do all of this, maintain this high standard of physical appearance and like that idea of how a woman should look, but bring that into a company, bring that into like running a business. Like I think in a lot of corporate, this kind of goes back to a little bit of our conversation about the performance of power from last episode, but like I think with men, like your appearance doesn't matter when you have a certain level of power, but I think like professionalized women are still expected to look a certain way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think
that might be a stretch of a connection. Like, yeah, I think the essence is there.
Yeah, I don't want to say the problem's worsening because I do think there's a lot of progress being made about normalizing, like just being natural. But I think, like you're saying, like in a professional world, like women are still looked down upon if they come in without makeup, like into a job.
It's ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous.
I think a job interview is actually a good place to show the double standard in the sense that, like, if a woman didn't come in like with a bra on during a job interview, they'd like look at you a certain way. You know what I mean? And they'd have a certain judgment towards you. You know, but just let people do what they want to do. You know, and I think the social change isn't even just changing our standard, but maybe it's just about like accepting people and ourselves. You know what I mean? I feel like makeup is sometimes a way to run away from your insecurities. You know what I mean? To hide it 100%. Instead of to face it front on. You know what I mean? To be like, oh, I don't like this pimple that I just developed on my forehead. I'm going to really cover it up with makeup so nobody, sees it and, judges me.
So I can't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like exactly.
The not only hiding from others, but hiding from yourself.
Hiding from yourself, exactly. And I feel like we should also have a social change that's just embracing insecurity. You know what I mean? Like we all have faults. None of us are perfect. You know what I mean? Like I have facial hair on my face right now. I don't love to have facial hair, but, here I am.
Yeah, you're not wearing like a mask just to like, like it's I feel like there's just a standard that men don't have to hide certain things that women do. Yeah,
because I go around with, when I had bad acne like freshman year, like, and even in 7th grade, I had this really bad thing on my nose. Like I had to like walk around with it. You know what I mean? Which isn't like a pro. I'm just saying like women don't have the option to do that. Like I feel like they will be judged if they don't put on makeup and they have something on their face.
Yeah.
I think like we just gotta start looking at people as hearts, souls, and minds.
Yeah.
And like not their bodies.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think when you see somebody for the first time, obviously your first judgment will be their appearance. It's all you can see, And I think that's where this just, it makes it so difficult to change because of how institutional it is in the appearance of women. But like not only that, but the fact that like that is gonna be your first, like, don't judge a book by its cover, but like the first thing you see is the cover.
Yeah,
you know,
and I think
it's
that's
hard not to
rooted.
draw a distinction.
I think that's rooted in the fact that we judge people immediately by how they look. I think that's rooted in the fact that I feel like as a society we just don't judge ourselves and we judge others. I feel like oftentimes people, most of the time, don't look at themselves and see the issues that they have, and they're more focused on others. Mm-hmm. They never turn the mirror onto themselves and is like you never judge yourself. Like you think you're it and everybody else is like weird.
I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like a lot of judging other people is what you're insecure about yourself. So I feel like you're aware that it's a fault in you, and then you look at other people and you're like, wow, they're weird for having that same.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying though. It's like people don't look at themselves; they're looking at others.
Like I think there's a self-conscious awareness of like that you hate something in yourself, so you point it out on other people.
Yeah.
But like I feel like you're so quick to attack other people for it without dealing with it yourself.
Yeah, and this isn't even just like physical features. Like I feel like some people will be like, "Oh, that person is so like they always gossip all the time. Like they're so annoying," but they never look at themselves. And then see that, they're gossiping, you know what I mean? But I feel like this kind of plays into the larger topic of just gender roles and how ridiculous it is that as a society we assign things to genders when the only thing that differs me from a woman, or I guess I'm trying to think biologically here as someone who is sexually a woman, not gender-wise, but the only difference is reproductive organs and hormones. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So there's no difference between your gender of a male and a female.
Forget about the feminine genius called women.
Or like there should, I'm trying to say there should be no difference, but like no expectation for a gender. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
I totally agree with that. And I think like a lot of it is makeup and stuff like that, but I think it's also rooted in clothing. You know, like the three of us are currently sitting next to each other in a sweatshirt and sweatpants.
Yeah, we're wearing the same outfit.
Yeah, we are all just wearing sweatshirt and sweatpants. And I feel like that just isn't normalized in women. Like, I feel like women can't wear a sweatshirt. Like I feel like women have to wear either like jeans or leggings all the time.
I think it's more than that. Like it's in literally everything we do. Literally, like if I had long hair, you'd be like, Cole has women's hair. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Cole's going the female hair route. Like if it was down to my shoulders, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or if I was wearing a dress, you know what I mean? Like people would be like, oh, he's wearing women's clothes. Or if a woman had short hair, like the first thing people think is, oh, that's a man's haircut. Like that's just not how things work. There's no universal law where a woman likes pink, wears heels, and has a purse.
I think it's kind of funny because like, I think a lot of people who would propose those ideas are the same people who say like, you're only a man because you have like male reproductive organs, or you're only like a woman because you have like those reproductive organs. But like, then they're the first people to gender clothing. Yeah. You know, like the first people to gender products, like put an identity on products. And I think it's like just a deep hypocrisy, but also like it makes things so overly complicated. Like when there's different sizes of shoes for men and women, there's different sizes of clothing for men and women. Mm-hmm. It's just like stupid stuff that doesn't have to exist. Yeah. It's so arbitrary and it just complicates things. And then like it just makes the standard of living for women more expensive and harder.
Yeah, and I mean, I wish we had a girl or a woman on here just to tell, like, just to say their experience with it, because I feel like from what we see is like it might like we're saying like it's pretty bad, but I feel like it could be so much worse. Like
it definitely could be.
Like I can't even imagine.
Yeah, we're from the outside perspective.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that too. Like halfway into the conversation, I was like, wow, we're all three men here talking about like women's issues almost, or what we perceive to be like
that's what I'm saying.
A double standard.
Our perception may not be real. I think it could be so much more of a problem than we are even making it out to be.
Yeah, it stinks though. I'm glad though, like we can at least see this double standard, you know, and it's probably is worse than we think it is because we're from a male's perspective. But yeah, it just stinks that that's how our world is. But we're making progress. I will agree with Niral that thankfully we've gotten somewhere. There's still a lot to go from, but thankfully, women aren't, you know, like they used, what was that waist thing we were talking about?
Corset.
Yeah, they don't have to wear corsets anymore, and that was a standard like 100 years ago. So at least we're somewhere, and from now on, we'll keep our heads up and keep moving forward.
And just real quick, like I think the standard for men has decreased throughout time. Actually, I think like going back to, I mean, we talked about the founding fathers, like they used to wear the same type of clothing, like stuff that had to be like tied 1,000,000 times, buttoned 1,000,000,000,000 times, powdered wigs. Like I think that standard has fallen for men, and has stayed the same for women, and I think that's notable as well. But yeah, I think that's a good wheel spot or wheel stop. We really have to come to agreement.
Can we come to agreement
I
right
thought
now?
it was wheel spot.
Because we have
This is a
talked
treaty
about
of
this. The
influence.
viewers are probably so annoyed because we've talked about this
I get hate mail. I get so much hate mail from this podcast of people saying, "Decide."
every time.
Wheel spot.
Wheel spot.
Fine, I'll
There we go.
concede.
Wheel
Okay.
spot.
So it is my topic next. So my topic is Neuralink, the Elon Musk company.
Oh yeah.
And it's not just him, but there are a bunch of people involved.
Mhm.
But the company that is planning on implanting like a chip in your brain, inside your head, that will hopefully do very good things in like solving diseases, curing diseases, and like make you think faster. And
Oh, that's so cool.
Interesting.
my question first of all to you is, would you guys get it?
So,
Absolutely not.
I think I've like always been on the cutting edge of like new. Like I got like AirPods in like 8th grade.
Mhm.
Like I've just
Wow.
always
That's
I know.
early.
Isn't that,
That's early.
That is
my
early.
legacy. I put that on my college application. And I got like the touch bar. Like I got this computer in 8th grade.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like, I've had to get a new one since because I broke it. But it's the same model. Like I feel like I've always loved being on the side of like new technology. So I feel like I would, just because like precedent. But I know nothing about this.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
going into this. I'm going into your topic blind here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. But so right now I'd say no, only because I don't know anything about it. I would love to have a chip in my brain that like I know for sure the only things it does is make me think faster, and I have a bank of information that I can access at any time, like stuff like that. As long as it's only pros, great. But at least in its early stages, I know there's going to be cons.
There has to be.
And also, people just take advantage of people when they have technology. You know what I mean? Like, we all damn well know Google is listening to us, but we're
Hi.
willing. Hi,
Hey,
Google.
how are you?
But we're willing to
This is
sacrifice.
voice memos. Tim Cook is only. It's only Tim Cook.
Yeah, it's only
listening
Tim
right
Cook now. But we're willing to sacrifice that
now. Oh,
liberty.
he donated $1 billion to our podcast. I forgot to tell you.
Tim
guys.
Cook?
Mhm.
Wow, thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. Anyways, we're willing to sacrifice that liberty to use the internet. I don't know if I'm willing to sacrifice the liberty to have a chip in my brain only because of the possibilities, the potential of what a chip can do to someone in your brain.
Yeah, there's not like, I mean, I look into it too much, but there's not a lot of information on what it could do, because it literally could do anything, right? Like you could program it to do whatever, but like obviously has a lot of medical, like it can help people with Alzheimer's and like
Yeah.
Asperger's syndrome and stuff like that. But for me at least, I don't think I would ever get it.
Yeah, neither would
I would just I don't want to be thinking like if my thoughts are from me or from something else.
True, because then maybe there's a loss of identity, is that
Yeah.
you've become partly a computer who's thinking for
Exactly.
you,
Mhm.
So
Interesting.
but
How
what
do we know
hap-
there's not one there right now?
we don't, but with trust,
Yeah.
I don't know when that
I
would
know
have
that just
gotten.
like came in my mind.
It's true. Well,
It's true.
It's true.
That's a powerful statement.
It's true, but also like, how do we know there's like no organs inside me right now, and I'm
Oh, that's I think about that at
Yeah,
least
right?
once a day, where I'm just like I am a bag of meat.
yeah, me
Like
too.
think about it, like right now, like your intestines are like pumping out a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. That used to give me chills just to think that like right now there's like bones in me and lungs and like a stomach that could be ripped out, and It's kind of sometimes chilling
To
to
weave
think.
a tale about it.
It's sometimes just chilling to think that you're like a living organism. But anyways, back to the chip. What happens when you get a call from your buddy and he's like, execute order 66, and then you just kill all your friends? You know what I mean? Because of the chip. So spoilers for Star Wars, Neral. And anyone who hasn't seen Star Wars,
I didn't even realize.
You didn't realize that was.
I didn't realize he hadn't seen Star Wars, and
Oh, yeah,
that wasn't that many.
yeah.
Okay, whatever.
So in Star Wars, this is kind of a spoiler, but Neural
I
doesn't
don't
care that
care.
much. So there's a clone army, an army of clones of one person, and there's millions of them. And they all have a chip in their brain, and they work with the Jedis. They're alongside the Jedis. The Jedis are the people with lightsabers.
Is Jedi plural? Jedis? Jedi.
Jedis,
All the
plural,
Jedi.
yes, are all the Jedi. They work with the Jedi, the clone army, and they have a chip in their head. And basically, there's this mastermind running the whole thing, and he runs the clones. And when he says to them, execute Order 66, the chip makes them have to follow it. So because of the chip, they have to follow any order they're given. And so they say, the guy says, execute Order 66, and they turn on all their Jedi combat-like friends and kill them.
Wow.
And so that's like a risk that I think we pose taking. I don't think we're at the point where we can have a chip that I follow every command I get. But once we figure out more about the mystery that is the brain, I think we could be able to get to that. And it's scary.
Do you think most people would get it?
No.
No, I don't think so.
At least I think from American culture that we see, I think no. And also I think the world too.
I think we just have to know so much more about it.
Mhm.
Like, I want to know, like, what can the chip do? How can it do it? Like, the one thing that's really cool to me is, like what you said about storing a bank that you could easily access.
Yeah.
There's so many times where I wish I had like a search bar for my brain. And I could like search through things I just like forgot.
And what's
like,
cool with the chip is that you could do it in, like, the potential of the chip is you could do it as fast as a computer
The
computes.
one thing that like actually has me like thinking about it is like, what if you could like call people in your head?
That'd be cool, but the other thing is, like, does it dehumanize me?
That's what I'm thinking.
It might make you a computer.
Like,
You're right.
like,
You're right.
I'm trying to think of something here, but, like, for example, like, if I clone myself, that's not me. This is a hypothetical from a show my friend was telling me about, but if I send my memories back in time to a previous version of me, that's also not me.
Mhm.
You know, the only thing that's me is this present form.
Yeah.
And so if I had a chip in my brain that suddenly starts taking over some thought processes, am I no longer me? You know?
And that's a very like I don't think I'd want what you were talking about, Jake. Like having a search bar in your brain. That's not for me. I don't think
Terrifying.
No, and it's not just they're terrifying. It's terrifying, but like I wouldn't want any like doubt. I want to do things like I want to forget stuff. Like I feel like
There's a part of that
like,
that's
I-
Yeah,
enjoyable.
no, I kind of like that.
I want to
That's-
be able
yeah.
to like look for something. You know,
Yeah.
like, oh.
Because part of that is being human. Is
Yeah.
like forgetting things.
And almost
is
like
the limits of our brains is partly what makes us us.
And it also like it talks about human importance, right? Like the fact that like there are memories that are just more striking than others, and you don't forget those memories. Like,
Yeah.
once everything becomes the same, uniform,
Yeah.
like I feel like it would disrupt the scope and scale of how we like rank our memories and experiences.
Yeah. This is making me really think of like the future, and like maybe there's going to be
That's what I'm
a
thinking.
group of people that take these chips, and then there's going to be the group of people that follow the way of, well, I'm sure what they will describe as natural man. And then what if there's like a conflict between
Yeah.
these tech? I'm starting to think of a
Because-
sci-fi
yeah,
world
'cause
right here,
there's
right
like
now.
there's like potential for a superior race, not race, but like superior beings.
Yeah.
Just because they have a chip in their brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That actually brings me to a podcast, the one I told you about that I really want you to listen. Like, I don't want to spoil it, but Ezra Klein is a journalist in the New York Times. He has a podcast called The Ezra Klein Show, and he talked about CRISPR, and I think it kind of goes for this conversation a little bit, where technological advancements can influence the future of children,
Yeah.
and the way we like what technology we invest in people and how that changes their future outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying like he's a parent, and he was saying like, if you gave me the decision to like protect the naturalness and like sanctity of my child just because of their just because they're natural versus like what is more just preserving that like
original state,
yeah, exactly, or like investing in their future and making sure they're not behind from like a supposed higher performing class of people because of technology.
Yeah. So
what is more unjust? Like,
yeah,
it was a really striking conversation that he had with a doctor, and it was just really, really interesting.
I wonder though, with like on the topic of CRISPR, like the moment you change the genome of a baby,
sorry, is it okay if
at the moment you change the genome of a baby, like, is it the same baby anymore? It's like the paradox, like a ship of Theseus, you know? You change the plank, like, when is it a different ship? Like, are they already two different ships? Because, that was in WandaVision. But are they already two different ships once you change one thing about it? Like, I just don't know. It's a paradox.
Yeah, I've always, like, kind of been scared of that, like, because... like that technology is already here. Well, not already here, but it's going to be out in like 5 years. Like,
well, there's a cyborg today. There's one guy who has, I mean, it's not a cyborg in the way we think, like, you know, has a chip in his brain. But what he has is a cord that is charged, and it's actually, well, it is connected to his brain. He has a certain type of color blindness, so he doesn't see any color. And so what he has is this receptor that connects to the back of his head and goes all the way around to his forehead like an antenna. And what it does is it perceives color, and then it sends a signal of sound to his brain
to understand
the color. So he hears color instead of seeing it.
That's very cool.
It sounds ridiculous. To me, I didn't at first.
I think I would just be cool without color at that point.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot.
But it seems like he loves it. So like everybody's a song.
I'm also speaking from somebody who's never been without color.
I would never want to be without color.
Yeah, but if we never had it, then like it wouldn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
No, I feel like it would mean more. Like, imagine you didn't know what color was, and people all around you are talking about color. Not talking about color, but like they see something completely different. Well,
I actually disagree. I think if we had it and then we lost it, it would mean more. But I think if you grew up never having it, like, you're used to it. That's your reality. There's nothing, you can't even imagine what color is. So
I think that's way too different because I think if you're born without it, you'd feel like there's a deep like emptiness.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I feel like if you lost it, there's like a deep loss.
Yeah,
I feel like
they're two different.
So they're two different feelings, absolutely. Yeah. But anyway, so this guy has this antenna. I didn't believe it at first. I was like, no way, this is real. It's totally real. And that he's like the first cyborg or something because it's directly connected to his brain.
Wow,
it's fascinating.
Really cool.
It's incredible. Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest though. All this technology scares me a little bit just because of its potential.
It scares me so much.
It scares me more than genome editing which is also scary, but because it gets into controlling. You can control the potential of this technology is can control people.
Yeah,
and that's scary to me. And there's exciting parts of it because the potential of this technology is to make us like super beings of intelligence. But maybe super beings of intelligence don't have, a moral code.
Yeah, so. But that's the decisions we're going to have to make because, like, when we become parents or when we have kids, this is going to be like, what, 15, almost 20 years down the line maybe? That would be an option, right? That would be an option. Do you want to save your kid from these 4 diseases? So we're going to cut this genome out or like this part of DNA out.
Yeah.
Or do you want to like put a chip in his brain so he's like a little bit smarter, but that costs like $10,000.
Well, I'm not even necessarily scared of the potential, actually, more of like you were saying, how we have to make that choice.
Yeah.
I'm more scared that we're just going to make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And we're not going to care.
That's, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like people will just do it. Just that would make me better. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Someone's going to think we have to do this because we must advance and we must control people to.
I think what's really interesting. Sorry to cut you off, but what I think is so interesting is like, are we as a people, are we afraid of the implementation of this technology, or are we afraid of the free enterprise of this technology, where it can be purchased, where like different upgrades can be purchased by the rich, and like will that lead to an oligarchical society?
Yeah.
Where like only the rich
Only the rich have
are
it.
making themselves smarter and smarter and smarter, making themselves taller, giving them traditionally attractive features.
I'm definitely not scared of the free enterprise part of it. I would
Really?
be more scared if the government was in control of this, because when it is consolidated into one person instead of almost spreading the risk, like that economic principle, you're screwed. It's way easier to make things go to shit if it's in the hands of one person than if it's in the hands of, millions of people.
I feel like neither of those entities are prepared to.
Neither of them, though, are.
Yeah.
I don't trust it as much. I don't trust it in the market as well. I don't trust it in the government
I trust
or the
it
market.
Less in the market.
I trust it in individuals. So
Sure,
if
I think that's what we're just going to
Yeah.
I think like both of those people, like, because both of those industries serve an ulterior purpose, and I think it's deeply dangerous to put, like, because we're not talking about iPads anymore.
Yeah.
We're talking about like
Changing
it's
you,
upgrades.
like changing
like in a
you.
video game where like we can use Injustice as an example. You can purchase new gear for somebody. That's what we're talking about now. We're talking about like upgrading humans.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about like, oh my god, imagine if I can just make you like
Terrifying.
have better hearing.
Terrifying.
And like, what if I can be like,
terrifying.
delete the need for glasses?
Yeah.
Oh, this
It's
is
like- it's
actually
progress. Like,
literally making me
it's-
scared.
Because this is our generation is going to make that call.
And
Yeah.
I'm nervous about the socioeconomic implications of this
course,
market.
yeah.
Like, I think it's going to lead to a perfectly functioning upper class
Yeah.
and like the normal Homo sapiens at the bottom of like.
I actually think it might lead
terrifying.
to like massive cleavages, like
100%.
massive.
And I mean, if we think this inequality is bad,
But like
I know, that's what I'm
massive,
thinking.
massive tribal cleavages, like in the sense that like we become like groups, you know what I mean? And they're the people who have the philosophy of the old ways of man,
Yeah.
and the people who have the philosophy of, we
what if
must
we're
advance.
North Sentinelese Island in the next 30 years? What if we become
Dude.
that?
What if they
Oh,
see that
forgot-
like us? Yeah, and they're like, look at those guys without their Neuralinks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's terrifying.
I wonder what would happen to someone who grew up with a Neuralink and then like you just took it
Lost
out
it?
and then they
Oh.
lost it. Like would they
Oh.
just like be like in a constant state of like anxiety and loss and
As we said, like just plopping someone from North Sentinelese Island just in the middle of Times Square.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like what would happen?
Yeah, I think if someone
terrifying.
lost their Neuralink, I think they'd be impatient all the time. And you know the feeling when you're impatient and you get really frustrated,
And they
like
almost
your
wouldn't
blood.
know
It's not
why.
like you're mad, but like there's just feeling of just
Yeah.
frustration in your blood. They'd have that constantly, I think, because they'd be so used to, oh, I wonder where George Washington was born. Oh, he was born here. Oh, fascinating. You know how it just took me like 5 seconds to say that? They'd get it in literally like a millionth of a second.
Yeah.
And now they're reduced to human like
Oh, I don't know.
Thanks.
I feel like it just scares me so much that
Yeah.
like this technology is coming fast. Like it's not 30 years away anymore. It's like 10 years away.
I know which
And this when like the iPod Nano came out, and I was like,
Same.
this shit
Like,
is dope.
like imagine like,
Like,
when
I
we
used to
thought
like
about
love
that as
listening
cool.
to like being able to pull up a song from like I don't know from like iCarly in 2 minutes instead of like I don't know. It's
Yeah.
literally terrifying.
and it's like it just kind of shows how our development so far we've seen is exponential.
Mhm.
200 years ago, or like the change from 1700 to 1800 is not even close to the change from 1900 to 2000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw like there was a quote from a scientist. This is back in like the 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently he said like the fear of technology is a J, and like meaning the J curve, like meaning how it will just like go.
Exactly.
And I was like that was so striking to me.
It's
Like,
true, and
the
that's-
fact that like I don't know, cars are crazy, but like it's insane that like 10 years ago we're talking about iPod touches.
I know.
We're talking about DSs.
Yeah.
You know.
Dude.
Remember when
Yeah.
the 3DS came out?
That
I was
was
like,
amazing.
I was like,
yeah.
yo, wait, I can turn this to 3D by
Yeah.
switching this button, and
Yeah.
now I'm literally talking about like making humans higher functioning.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know,
So like, do you think we should stop this technology, or do you
I don't
think,
know.
like-
I think it's impossible to stop.
The
That's
scary
what I'm
part is that it's going to be impossible to stop. And are we going to be able to keep up to take our time to make the decision?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that like we're not even going to pause to make a decision. It's just going to happen.
Mhm.
I think there was like a medical kind of convention, like of leading doctors when cloning technology really can we believe that's a thing, by the way? We can like clone sheep and dogs.
Mhm.
Anyways, when cloning technology became a thing, I'm pretty sure there was like this conference of doctors to kind of stop using the technology and come to an ethical consensus. And I've heard doctors call for that, and the same thing with CRISPR.
Yeah.
And I really hope we do something like with that with Neuralink. But think about how, like, you know, CRISPR has just developed really well in the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Neuralink chips are already here, and cloning started like 40 years ago. So we see exponential there. 40 years, 10 years, like 4 years. Like,
Yeah. It's so crazy. I think like the issue with like some type of ethical conference is I feel like people maybe I see Elon Musk as this caricature almost where he's like, no,
He doesn't care.
I'm going
Yeah.
to change this. It has to change.
And I also think like just the idea of a conference of experts, of elites making the decisions for how science.
Elites versus experts are different, I think. I'm not nervous about that as much. Like, I feel like experts in the field. Like, would you rather just have it like be a conversation of people?
I don't know. I'm just saying whenever a higher group or a group of people start making decisions for a group of other people without a voice, it's just a little shaky.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that it can be dangerous, but I think like what I would want, and I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but a group of medical experts, people who it's their field of study, deciding that they're no longer going to pursue this information. Like if they decide to end their respective study, I have no issue with that.
I think in a way that we have to pursue
Like,
it,
that's
which is
the
so
thing.
sad, is because what else are we here for?
We have to just make better stuff.
We're here to keep going and advance.
We're having a crisis.
Yeah, we're having an existential crisis.
I'm
right
sorry.
now.
I'm sorry for bringing this
Neural's
up. But, like,
crying.
Future generations, we're sorry for what
Yeah,
is
that's
about
the
to
thing,
happen
like,
to you.
I'm thinking-
Your difficulties are going to be far more difficult than our difficulties. And you know who said that to us? Our parents.
That's what I'm saying.
So-
Like, our parents tell us today,
Yeah.
you're going to have to make all these big decisions on things we messed up on 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We are having the same thing right now.
At 17, 16, and 18 years old, we know already, because technology is advancing so exponentially, we know how bad it's going to get. So we can even make that statement now
Yeah.
that for the generation of our children, like, it's going to be bad.
I don't even know if I can blame boomers for this, but I'm going to do it. This is on boomers. This whole thing's on boomers. They had a period of unprecedented economic growth, and all they had to do was go to college on Pell Grants for $3,000, and now we're paying $80,000 a year and making ethical decisions on the influence of human
Upgrade.
development and literal guys. We're talking about software updates. Like your phone has to be connected to Wi-Fi and plugged
Yeah.
Think
in.
about that. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my
Neuralink upgrades. So you don't have the latest software, dude? Are you joking?
Yeah,
Literally,
you're
like,
right.
you will get kicked out of friend groups.
What if, guys, what if we're able to have conversations in like
Oh my-
a second?
What if you can?
Like
What if,
this-
wait, what if at night you charge?
Oh my god.
No, but seriously, what if this whole podcast with a
everyone's gonna get cancer.
Neuralink, with a Neuralink, this whole podcast could have been recorded in a millionth of a second.
Yeah, what if you can live stream, post it, and it's
And then it's consumed in 2 millionths of a second immediately.
Dude.
Oh my god, because this is what we're getting to.
Yeah,
is
we're gonna get
the
there.
speed
You
of
guys ever see Lucy? That movie
technology.
Lucy?
No.
Yeah, I heard it, but I know the concept. It's kind of ridiculous to
Yeah,
me.
it's just stupid, dumb concept.
Well, it's interesting. No, it's interesting, but it's
I
like we
feel
only.
it's that type of thing where like she literally becomes like. So basically, it's the like humans only use like 10% of their brain at a time.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of spin that and say humans only ever unlock 10% of their brain, which isn't true. Yeah, but that's like what the movie's about, and basically like they find a way to unlock 100% of this woman's brain, and she just becomes like a god.
Mhm.
Like she's like she gets like this like move like matter like it's nothing, but like it's that kind of idea where like there's like no more meaning to life because everything is like just a process that takes 2 seconds.
Yeah. What baffles me is still how much of a mystery the human brain is. Like,
Yeah.
we have no fucking idea what's going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no idea. It's so interwoven.
And it's weird because it's us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is me. I am my brain.
That's
I
the
don't
sole
understand.
thing that defines us is literally our brains, basically. It's crazy. It's an exciting. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of unpredictability. But that's the nature of the future. So
I think with technology, I think there's a distinction between internal and external almost, because this idea of technological growth is a hell of a lot different than our flying car conversation.
That's what I mean.
Mhm.
We are excited to hop in a new vehicle. We're excited to play the new Xbox. We're excited to, run on the new treadmill that makes you feel like it's a mountain. Like those technological advances that are so not low stakes because they're high stakes, but like there's a low opportunity risk almost, or just risk, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like when you're talking about these types of human developments, there's an ethical and humanitarian element of it that is so like deeply embedded in what it is. And it's just like, I don't know, it's scary because like you're literally talking about your ability to function and compete. Like we're talking about competition, right? Like how can you compete with people who can think faster than you?
It's impossible.
You know, like what like at a certain point, willpower is going to go out the window.
Yeah.
You know,
like you'll have to do it. There's no ethical. The ethical conversation will be drowned out. Just because of competition.
And then, like willpower, like Jake was saying, you don't need willpower. You just do things. The energy that is going to be required to do these processes is going to be so much lower than the energy that it would be required for me to think. Like in order for me to think, I need to eat a balanced diet, drink water, and sleep. And
what if my brain just did?
And to be in the right mind. But in order for a chip, the potential of a chip is that it has to be charged for 5 minutes, and then suddenly it can do all the processes of the human brain. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think like like the almost superhero action movie, like just story narrative where it's like, you can't beat me. I'm so much more powerful than you. And he's like, but I have the will. And like, it's like I want a realistic movie where it's just like, I'm stronger than you. So
like the first scene, he like stomps on the hero and he's like dead. Yeah, that's the whole movie. Thanks for coming, everyone. Yeah,
but like that's reality, and you can want to work harder than everybody else in the room. You can walk into a room thinking you're gonna be the hardest working person. Doesn't matter if they're just higher functioning. It just doesn't matter.
It's a good topic, Niral. Very well.
This is so
we
fun.
could totally talk about more of this. This stuff interests me so much.
Literally every single topic, I feel like we're coming back to this. Well,
we haven't revisited
maybe
one
that's
topic.
something we'll do. Maybe not next episode, or maybe next episode we'll do like a throwback episode where we revisit topics and share additional thoughts that we've had since we've reflected.
The thing with revisiting topics though is like we want experts. So like, what if we got someone from like a psychic area to kind of talk about astrology?
And everyone listening at home right now, just know, on your traditional podcast, this would be a behind closed doors conversation, but we're doing this in front of the people. We want you guys to know our thoughts, and we want feedback from them.
Yeah. All right, let's. This is a good wheel spot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just Jake's topic.
We don't have to fight about if it's wheel stop now. We can just say it's wheel spot.
Wait, we still didn't come up with a name for the last one. The last spot. How about the last spot?
The final spot? I don't know. What's better, the penultimate or the ultimate stop?
Well, that means it's going to be the best topic,
True.
And like sometimes we end on your topic, Niral, so we don't want to lie.
Actually, we've never ended on.
We've never ended on your topic.
I know we've done once. Nature versus nerd. No, nature
that
versus
was
nerd
first.
We've never ended on my topic.
Yeah, all right, we're going to call it the last spot. Here we are.
Okay. This is a good episode. We got 3 kind of heavier hitters. So I want to talk about.
Who knows? People might hate it.
This might.
This might flop.
We're not going to post this episode, guys. No, I'm kidding. So I want to talk about. It is a little bit in my reflection of what happened last night. I want to talk about the power of words. I want to talk about the history of slurs, how powerful they are, what gives words meaning, how that changes culturally, and by your sex, gender, orientation, sexually, etc. Is it an issue with the word, the user, the history of the word, or the people who came up with it, and things like that. So
sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
It's a lie.
No, I actually think that's one of the best things to live by, but it's really difficult to live by because when somebody is in your face saying, this is totally hypothetical, but in your face saying like, you're a fucking idiot.
Wait, is that the saying?
It's sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Okay,
so that's funny because my entire life I thought it was sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will hurt. Actually hurt.
No.
So it's bad both ways?
So it's bad no matter what happens to you.
Yeah. That's horrible. That definitely was not right.
Yeah, that's not right.
But I actually totally think physical pain is temporary. I think words are way more painful.
That's what
I'm a huge believer in words being more powerful.
I disagree, and what I think is so beautiful about this statement is that like you write what you write your history. You write what the meaning of the words that are said to you. And as difficult as it is possible.
I think you can't change the history of a word and what it means. And
that's not about the history of the word. It's what you take from it.
You're saying you can choose your reaction to like
exactly,
people saying,
and it's not easy. But like, I don't know. I've had people in my face just say terrible, friends even say terrible things to me.
Jake, I want to say sorry.
I'm so sorry, Cole. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Seriously, if they're mad at me, they'll say like, just mean things that we can choose to ignore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think there's a certain power that we have in our own hands that shouldn't be underestimated.
Mm-hmm. I think, yes, when the words, I think that's true to a certain degree, but I think there is it's hard to articulate, but I think there's a racial, sexual, in terms of like sexual orientation, maybe like gender related implication of words that have an innate meaning because of their history. I think generic swear words and insults differ from words that have a deeper and darker history, especially when they're targeted based on somebody's identity. I don't really know how to put it perfectly because it's so complicated.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. I think I think there's a difference between generic insults and historically and identity
targeted insults.
Targeted insults, like saying the N-word is like a terrible thing.
And I think we can. I don't even know. I feel like we can't change the meaning of that word, or that we shouldn't. I don't know. Yeah. But I'm open to thoughts. But I want to talk a little bit more just about my topic before I go. So there's a quote. Words can inspire, words can destroy, choose yours well. And I think I just want to kind of reiterate the idea that I don't know, words are something that we have the final choice in saying or not. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes in a fight, I think there's a difference between a physical fight and a verbal fight. Mm-hmm. When you're when somebody's swinging at you, you're gonna probably swing back. Mm-hmm. But I think with words, since everything is a conscious choice, mm-hmm. specific and isolated almost, I think there's a conscious decision you can make.
Words have an impact that's permanent, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That's would you disagree?
Cole's giving us the disagreement face.
I totally disagree with that. Uh-huh. Because again, I think it's just up to our choice. And once we start saying there's a limit to word, there's a limit to how much we can handle, then we've already lost. No. Then we've already set that limit. I'm not trying to say that the fact that I can choose what effect words have on me means that I'm perfect at it, because I'm not. Yeah. I get hurt by words every day. I get happy. I get and what's the opposite of hurt? I get blessed by words. Words affect us every day, and
that's what I mean. I think you can choose the effect that a word can have, but that effect is permanent. You can't erase that.
True, and it builds up. Actually, you're right, because I don't know, people can say little things to you your whole life, about I don't know, your weight or something, and that could build up after 20 years, and suddenly you're left with
and you remember the words that are important. If somebody says something that's very striking to you, whether it be good, whether it be bad, you that's permanent in your head.
You're right.
You can't shift that.
And it is really difficult to choose the impact of words that words have on you. You know what I mean? If literally people are in your face calling you a loser, it's very hard to not convince yourself of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to talk about, I think there's two words in particular that I think are one of the biggest targeted slurs that have historical power, and that would be the N-word and the F slur. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk a little bit about the N-word in history. So in the summer of 1619, when a ship arrived in Port in Virginia carrying around 20 Africans who were chained up to be sold as slaves, there's this document. It was the first arrival of slaves in the U.S. And Africans were referred to using the Spanish and Portuguese words for black, which is where the word comes from. And a professor of black studies at Birmingham City University says it's really tied to the idea that African people aren't really human beings. They were more like an animal than a human being, a beast of burden, could be bought and sold, could be thrown overboard ships, and literally had no rights. So when the N-word is used, that's essentially what it's used for. So I would hope that most people would understand why that is deeply offensive and problematic, because it is still used in that context now.
Yeah.
I think there's a issue of that word in the sense that its connotation hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can look at the C word, the B word, and you can see that they've had some type of social change in their meaning.
Yeah.
This word hasn't.
Yeah.
There has not been a change. Even the F slur, it's become, our generation, I think, uses it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It just as, like, I think it's being normalized more.
Yeah.
In a horrible, horrible way. But I think its context has changed. Like, that word does not only describe homosexuals anymore. Like, people use it just as, like, an insult.
Yeah.
The N-word is not used as an insult. It is a derogatory slur against African Americans or just black people in general.
I know the argument from the other side is, like, words only have the meaning we give them to.
Mm-hmm.
Give it, which is true. But
I disagree with that completely.
Well, of course it's true because words are a social construct. But the thing with the N-word is, like, the meaning we've given it throughout society is terrible.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you're saying words have the meaning we give them. Like, we've given it a terrible meaning.
I think
one of the worst meanings of all time. And secondly, why are you ever inclined to use this word? In what scenario would you be inclined to use the N-word? I don't get why people do it ever in any scenario ever.
Yeah.
It is one of the most avoidable words in the English language.
I feel like you can just forget it. Like,
exactly. It doesn't have to exist.
That's what
Its existence is perpetually rooted in racism.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know there's been movements throughout time to reclaim the word.
The lady on TikTok.
Yeah.
The lady on TikTok's like, reclaim the N-word. Reclaim it, she says on TikTok. I don't know. What is she on about,
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just forget about the word as a society.
Yeah. And I think, like, there's also something to be said about that history and context is important to remember because we cannot forget the suffering of people.
Yeah, sorry. I was about to say, I don't mean to say let's forget about it because it needs to be written in history how people...
You said that really well.
It needs to be written in history to show how people treated blacks in the past. That needs to be shown how terrible it was. Mm-hmm. But let's just stop using it now.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. Like, its history is important because we have to put pain in context and we have to put, like, structural racism in context. But I have no idea why it's said once ever.
Yeah,
ever. Nowadays, why is it said? Unless it's like, even in history lessons, like, you don't have to say it to acknowledge its pain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where do you think that falls in, like, literature? Like, if somebody's...
Because
there's a lot of, like...
I think its meaning...
The most, like, common one is to kill a mockingbird.
Exactly. Like,
right.
I think it's... It can exist without having to be said, and I think its meaning is still there without having to say it.
So, what do you think? Like, let's say you're in class and you're reading To Kill a Mockingbird. What do you?
You just say, like,
you just don't read it. Yeah, you just don't read that.
You don't read the literature?
No, you read the literature, but you don't read that word. Like, you don't.
No, I think you
So how
just say N-word. You just say, like, you say the two word. Like,
yeah.
Would you blame someone for reading it?
I would. I mean,
so how do you feel
if
about...
it has no basis in hate, I wouldn't blame, but I would advise against it.
So then how do you feel about Leonardo DiCaprio in Quentin Tarantino's movie, The Django Unchained, I think screaming the N-word constantly at black people?
I think...
I never heard about that.
Well, that's his character.
Yes, it's a racist character. But, like, I think sometimes the art is... This is actually where it gets so interesting because... I want to erase it. I don't want it anyway. I don't want to hear it. It makes me physically
it irks me, like,
when I hear
it.
It is a word that just it has this power, and when I hear it, like it makes me like I hate it. I hate hearing it, and but I think also in art, it can bring more power to the meaning. Like I don't know. Let me elaborate on this more. But I think like Leonardo's like character in that film, like its usage establishes his character as a racist and makes like it makes the suffering of black people in the United States so evident. And I think there's ways to do it without using the word. And I think those are what we should promote.
Okay. It's not set in the present, it's set in the past. It's like
I know.
Oh, I thought you were saying like
no, but it's just the historical oppression of black people.
I agree.
I mean, back to what Cole was saying, that we need to erase it but keep it in history. Is that?
I don't think we should erase it. I mean,
like erase our use of it.
Stop using it.
But like stop using it. But like keeping it as historical value, not value, but like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like is that also in art and literature and films and poems?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you think it's okay that Leonardo DiCaprio says the N-word to black people in Django Unchained?
I don't even know if it's my decision. You know, like
I don't even know. No.
But what's your personal opinion on it?
My personal opinion would be, I wouldn't use it. But like if your intention is to show the suffering, I guess it's okay. But like I would advise strongly to find any other avenue to do that. You know,
Jake, what's your thoughts on it?
I'm thinking about it now, and I really don't know. I feel like I agree with Neral that it's not our choice.
Like, I don't know if it's
difficult.
our choice, but like,
it should be up to the people who have historically been oppressed by that word.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like it shouldn't be. It's not up to us, which is, you're right.
I think that
just meant like
deeper conversation about like its use in rap and its use in a lot of black media.
How do you feel about anybody using it?
I wish just nobody would say it.
I wish, same.
But like that probably won't happen, and I don't think it's my choice to make.
Yeah, it's not my place to say don't use it. But
do you think
because like it hurts them?
Yeah,
it doesn't hurt me. Like it upsets me, but it doesn't like structurally hurt me.
I'd rather them not use it.
Yeah,
I'd rather them not use it. But I mean,
the thing with the Leonardo DiCaprio thing is, on one side, like that's the character, and that's what Tarantino wrote the character to be, which I totally understand. Yeah. And then the other side is like you were saying, like, let's just take every avenue we can not to perpetuate this word. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I think I haven't seen the movie, and as far as I know, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is portrayed in a bad light. Yeah. You know, it's not like they're promoting. They don't glorify him, and they're not promoting what he's doing with saying the word. So I think then maybe it's okay because he's portrayed in a bad way using the N-word. He's portrayed as a bad person because of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I'd have to really see the movie to decide. I do know DiCaprio though literally went to Tarantino and he was like, "Listen, man, I don't feel comfortable doing this, saying all this racist stuff."
There was a more recent one. Someone said it. It was a huge deal.
Like a celebrity?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I completely forget what it is.
I mean, there's like many scandals of this.
Adam Driver, Black Hate Klansman.
Oh, he said it in Black Hate Klansman. Yeah. See, exactly. So
and that was a piece of historical art that shows the oppression of black people in the United States and gives, I think, like, that was one of the most empowering movies, I think, ever.
Yeah.
For like to illustrate the oppression of the black community in the United States. Just in the it was a masterpiece. But like, do you think that word like had enough innate value in its usage that qualified it to be in the movie?
I actually think it does make sense in the movie's standpoint. And now that we're talking about it more, I think it is when you use it in art to kind of, because the context of Black Hate Klansman is that Adam Driver is a Jew who's disguising himself as a KKK member. And basically...
He's a police officer.
He's a police officer, yeah. And basically, in order to conform to them and be more like them and be undercover, he has to say this, like, terrible word. So, I don't know. With the context of the two movies, at least, we've described it in, I think it's okay-ish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather not have it, but in no way am I saying... I think Spike Lee wrote... and directed. I know he directed it. I don't know if he wrote it. And Quentin Tarantino wrote and directed Django Unchained. In no way am I saying, who do you think you are to them? You know, I don't think they're doing anything that's terrible as compared to someone who actually uses the word.
Yeah.
in against someone.
100%.
That is the biggest sin, you know.
Mm-hmm. I think also I saw To Kill a Mockingbird live on Broadway.
Did they say it?
Yeah.
Wow.
He said it, and the whole audience went like at once. And I think, like, I don't know, it was powerful. You know, it illustrated something artistically that like came across because of the use of the word.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to look at the value of its usage to bring these issues to light, to bring that oppression to light, to illustrate it in a deeper way.
But you know the emotion it evicts or kind of invokes in each of us. Mm-hmm. In art, sometimes that's the emotion that an artist wants to get off or to portray. You know what I mean? So Spike Lee and Quentin Tarantino and the producers for the Broadway To Kill a Mockingbird.
They made a tangible choice.
They made a choice because there's an intentional kind of emotion they're trying to invoke, which I understand. So I get that aspect of it. And I'm a little more convinced that it's okay in that sense. But just the word, like, I just don't get ever why someone would use it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I wonder if the severity of the word attracts some people. Like some people are just tempted to say it because of how severe it is. Like that little 8-year-old on Xbox, Jake, who you were talking to, he just said the N-word. Mm-hmm. And I think he was white, right? But I mean, we don't know. It was a audio comm. But like, why say that? You know what I mean? I think what's important is we educate people of the history of the word, literally. Like literally in middle school, why didn't I learn about the history of the N-word and be like, this is the context.
Like in American history.
Yeah, and why didn't I learn about that? And they were like, this is the context people use this word in. So why would you ever don't use this word? Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to tell you. This is the context. And so if you use this word, you are invoking that today.
I mean, humans are innately rule breakers. That's the problem I see with that. Like,
history is whitewashed. You know. Like,
if you tell like a group of 8-year-old kids or like a group of middle schoolers not to use this word, no matter how serious you make it seem, there's always going to be that one kid.
You know, we know people who have said it. Like,
dude, there are way too many people I know who say it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. And that goes back to our conversation at the beginning of the episode. Saying something, saying like I know I've said something. Like that's something I do speak out against because it is, I don't know, it's so avoidable and dangerous. And that's something I'm very comfortable saying. Like, who the hell do you think you are that you can like evoke just pain? That's all it is. It's pain.
Can you imagine though? Like, just put yourself in someone else's shoes and imagine that just because of your race, people like you in the country you live were enslaved for hundreds of years and use this word to demean them. I
mean, look at this.
Like, can you imagine how you would feel hearing that word?
This is for people obviously listening. It's a mural in West Africa that depicts chains on legs, arms. There's handcuffs and chain rows that were used underneath ships, colonial ships, to tie African people to the bottom. So they would say, I think it's called the hull, right? Underneath. So slaves would be tied underneath the ship in the hull, and it was common for that area. I mean, because think about it, you're on the ocean, and these ships were wood at the time, right?
Yeah.
So it was it was like the water would soak through the wood, and you would be sitting, starving in pain in salt
disease
water
spreading.
Yeah, disease was rampant. I mean, it was commonplace to get to America or the Bahamas, where the slave trade originally started. Yeah, or maybe it was Cuba. I think it was Bahamas though. I forget. Something like underneath Florida, and it would be common to go back to the hole and be like, oh, everyone's dead. Sorry.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
We treat it like we're transporting. Yeah. It was treated like it was transporting sheep.
I feel like what this word represents too, in a way, possibly, is almost the teleportation of the oppression from the past and bringing it to today. Mm-hmm. I feel like it brings all of those past memories to, what's happening, or all those past trauma and oppression to today, which just shouldn't be a thing, you know.
Cool. I'm gonna transform this to the F slur. I'm not saying F word just because I feel like that's associated with the other F word.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say slur.
It's kind of today we've talked about things that like we probably don't have like that much of a, I don't know, like credibility towards. You know what I mean? Like, because we're not women and none of us are black.
I think we just need. This is just such like a topic that I think this is reinforcing the idea that we need to bring in people who were affected by this oppression. And I think that can be a call to that dynamic.
They deal with it every day. You know what I mean? We are totally from the outside here. So again, this situation is probably worse than we're portraying it to be because we are totally outsiders here from
So the F slur has been used in English since the late 16th century as an abusive term for women, particularly old women. And a reference to homosexuality may derive from this, as female terms are often used with reference to homosexual or effeminate men. The application of the term to old women is possibly shortening of the term F slur gatherer, which applied in the 19th century to people, especially older widows, who made a meager living by gathering and selling firewood, which is really interesting. So it may also come from the practice of something called fagging, which was a practice in British private schools. This is insane. In which younger boys performed potentially sexual duties for older boys, although the word was never used in this context. Only, like the full word wasn't, only that shortened version of it. Which is
wait, what?
So there was basically in British private schools in the past, it was called fagging, like that term, and it was when you would do sexually explicit acts for older students, like male students would do it on other male students in private male schools.
Oh my god!
Like boarding schools, because like England was full of like boarding schools of only one gender at the time. And then in the United States, the words were slurs for gay men and has spread in the rest of the English-speaking world. But the extent to which they are used in this sense is varied outside the context of U.S. popular culture. In the UK, terms queer and homo and poof are much more common for gay men. This term is usually used in the United States. And what's so striking about it is it has been taken by youth a lot in the United States.
People say it all the time. Especially here.
Yeah.
Your kids say it all the time.
It is like the most
actually, I wonder if I hear the N-word more.
Here?
Yeah.
No way.
I think I might.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I feel like kids...
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
I think kids will casually use, unfortunately, which is terrible, the N-word.
I haven't heard it here in probably a year.
Well, I haven't heard it here in a while. I mean, I don't hear it like every day. I just mean like I feel like there's one perpetrator of the F slur that I know, but like I feel like there's multiple kids who have like on occasion said the N-word.
No, I hear the F slur here from particular students.
Maybe unfortunately I've become like normalized to them saying it that I don't think anything of it.
Like I did last night. Like I heard it like 30 times last night.
Oh yeah, yes.
Its frequency is just a lot more potent.
How do you guys feel about the argument that like we can just decide it doesn't have any meaning and like then we can just like not care about it? How do you guys feel about that?
I think we
argument?
did that with words like the F word. We did that with words like the B word, the C word. That all happened. Words with this deep historical context. I really think it might not be impossible, but it's incredibly difficult and it will never be fully completed.
Especially,
like it will always have meaning to some people.
Yeah, especially because like you were saying, like it's teleporting the oppression from 1800 or like whatever to today, and that word is teleporting that to today.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think you can rewrite that meaning. I don't think in any context, in any reason that you can say, oh yeah, I meant it in a different way. So it's not my fault or something like that. That's like, I don't understand any of that.
I think Jake, you made a good point of saying, like, I feel like earlier in the podcast you're just talking about how these words are different, and they feel that way to me. Is that they feel like they have a historic kind of just like they have a past that can't be ignored in a way. But
I also know, like, I don't think these communities who are affected by these terms want them to mean nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just...
We can't reject the history that they have. We need to be like, this is literally what this word was used for. It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are, obviously these are two words that are terrible, but there are many other words, slurs.
Oh, I mean, there's words,
races.
like about South American, like Latinos. There's ones like about people in Asia. I mean, and the list goes on. I mean, it is, we've seen such a rise in Asian hatred recently just because of everything that's happened with coronavirus. It's just out of a place of stupidity. Yeah. You know, because there is no reason that these people are gaining hatred from, like, you know, a virus can happen anywhere. It just happened in China.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate.
And it came across as people, like Vietnamese people getting hated on, like Filipino people, like, they're not from, like, I don't know, it's so ridiculous. Like, you don't see, like, I mean, maybe in those countries you see, like, hatred to all white people because of, like, the United States, and you're like, I'm from Finland. Yeah. But, like, I don't know any of that. Like, I don't know of any examples of that. I just know that it's so rampant in Asian hatred.
Yeah. I feel like it's a responsibility for each of us to never, like, understand that these words are not meant to be said. They're not meant to be ever spoken aloud in any context, any interpretation, unless, I mean, we gave some examples of like the N-word being used in movies as a form of artistic expression. Even that is blurry, but I think we came to a consensus it's okay-ish, but like in no way this should be ever used at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
This episode's been heavy.
Yeah, it has. It's a heavy one. It wasn't like anything good to talk about.
I think that's a good. Should we have a name for the thoughts on the cast transition?
Thoughts on the cast. Okay.
Thoughts on the cast.
Thoughts on the cast. Thoughts on the cast. Thoughts on the cast.
All right, my topic. Beauty, inequality, double standard of beauty. What are the thoughts on the cast, ladies and gentlemen?
My big thought that I came away with, I think one of you said, I don't know which one, but it was that all the male beauty standard has fallen, but the women's beauty standard is still the same, which is crazy to think about, ridiculous, and we need to accept and normalize these natural and not make it a requirement for women to do things that are so much more than what men have to do.
What was so striking to me was just that, you know, women have been integrated into the workplace as, like, they serve the same social role as men now, with just so much more responsibility socially. And it's unfair, it's structural, it is oppressive, and it just has to be condemned. It has to be condemned by society. And I think we should just put value and importance to the natural beauty of women. And I think a lot of it comes down to the normalization of like appearance enhancement in both, like, men and women. Like, it shouldn't be just like a woman oriented thing, because I think that's what leads to sexism. It should either be like everyone or nothing. And
yeah, my biggest takeaway is just like, let's just start treating people as people and not as a woman with standards. Stop having standards for any person. Just start taking in what the world is and not judging it. And that connects to Jake's topic as well. Like, no matter if you are a woman, if you identify as a woman, if you are black, if you're gay, if you have armpit hair, if you don't wear a bra, if you have long hair as a man, if you wear pink as a man, if you wear dresses as a man, stop caring. Just let people be who they want to be, okay? Stop trying to fit people into what you think is normal. You know what I mean? Fit into the standards of normality. There's no such thing as normal. We're on a rock in space. Please stop caring about these minute details, please.
I saw a TikTok that it made me just feel like it was so funny. It was like me getting a 64 on my math test, and then it was like the camera cut, and it was just like me also just on a floating rock. Like it's like these things don't matter, and like it just sucks that it leads to hatred when it is so arbitrary. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So what did you guys think about my topic about Neuralink and how that the ethics of technological advancement?
What's so striking to me is not only is it horrifying, and I'm going to go throw up when I get home, is that I think it's an equity issue. I think there is going to be this just issue of structural like differences where there is just a higher performing upper class and there could be a lower performing lower class. Like it's scary.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that like, you know, I don't want to compare anything. Like I don't want to make too drastic of a comparison, but like when a group is higher functioning than another, it's dehumanizing. It could lead to the dehumanization of poor people.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that isn't in existence now, but I think it can become so drastic of a level where like they're viewed as either subhuman or they view themselves as above human.
Yeah.
You know, and like I don't know. I'm thinking this might be too far. I'm probably taking this too far. But like we people think like pets are below human, and like what if people like lower class, lower performing individuals are ever viewed as like animals?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Terrible.
And then what if they develop a word for them? Like
Exactly.
just like how
slur,
we
and then it gets
a
into
slur,
my
and then it
conversation.
gets terrible. Yeah.
It is dangerous. There has to be some type of ethical counsel on it, and I hope regulation by a people, not a corrupt entity.
Yeah.
And I think we just all have to make an individual, conscious, and deliberate choice to promote, you know, equity and equality in our choices, and we can't allow this to become a venue for inequality in such drastic of a fashion.
Yeah. Big takeaway for me, one is the emotion of fear. Like I literally started to be so scared of the future now because of this. But, you know, we can't be scared of the future. It's unpredictable. We have to face it at some point. So shouldn't go in being scared of it. But I guess the takeaway for me is kind of like, what can we do? You know, it's always what can we do as individuals for a situation or any conflict or any possible future outcome. And I think what's important is that we just educate ourselves, I guess, try to the best of our ability to learn about this technology, and also just get our priorities straight. Who do I trust? Whose hands do I feel are the safest for a technology like this? You know, and I think once we have those in order, it'll be a lot easier to have an ethical consensus as a society. So.
Yeah, one of the most, I echo your sentiment of fear. Like when I was thinking about it, it scares me to absolute death that our generation is making this call. And what even scares me even more than that is that it might not even be a choice at one point. You might just have to do it. And that is something that I hope we never get to, but it is a possibility and one that we need to be aware of as we develop more technology. And although human upgrades are a great thing to do and be able to like become better, it's also something that we need to do with caution and with respect to everybody, as Jake was saying, with equality and equity.
What are your guys' thoughts on my topic, the power words?
So obviously number one thing is like, why do we use these words? Stop using the word. Don't use it directed towards people. Like, just stop. These words have a terrible history. Like, please start being considerate towards other people and kind of put yourself in other people's shoes and see how you would feel if that word was used against me. So my plea is if anybody thinks about using the word, please don't. But the most striking thing to me was actually just thinking about how I didn't learn any of it. I didn't learn the history of the word, and I feel like I should have learned the history of the word just to really show the truth of history, which is that, our 200 or so years of slavery is one of the worst things anyone could have possibly done. And I think we need to get an unbiased reality of that situation. And I feel like, in a way, through the education system, I didn't get that unbiased kind of portrayal of history.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% ask that anybody who currently thinks that using these words are okay to educate themselves on what these words are, what these words were.
And if you're using it in art, sorry to cut you off, but we did talk about art. If you're using it in art, make sure it's like under the
Evaluate
right...
it,
Yeah, like make sure it's under the right context. I mean, obviously you can do whatever you want. I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but I'm asking them. I'm not demanding, I'm asking.
Yeah, I would kind of change that to be I'm demanding you to stop.
You're demanding.
I'm demanding you to stop using these words. I don't think there's any use, like any context, any interpretation. It's not right.
Take mine as an extreme plea. An extreme plea. I just don't want to demand.
I'm begging over here.
Yeah, I'm begging. Yeah, actually, I would use the word.
I'd use the word begging as well. I'm not. Yeah.
Well, we've had an open mind about the perspective. We all came to a consensus
about how we go about asking.
I agree. I think, it struck me that, there are words that are designed to inflict pain, and that is wrong. That's sad. Like it is a sad reality that humans have created. So Cole was right what he said. Words are a social construct. We created them, but they're like some of the words were created to invoke pain and oppression on people, and it's so easy to stop it. We can stop using these words, and for as long as it happens, I think there will be just a very unnecessary form of oppression that exists, and I want everybody to make a conscious decision to not only not use them yourself, but please educate those around you to stop using them. They are wrong, and we are entering a climate and a new form and a new culture in our society where like the usage of these words, they could end job opportunities. They could end like relationships, family dynamics, your future. It is such a stupid thing to sacrifice so much over. It is not worth it. And it is hateful. And there just has to be a larger multilateral condemnation of this topic.
Yeah, one last thing. Understand the impact of your words. Your words are important. What you say to other people is important. You have to make sure that what you're saying is what you mean, right?
Exactly.
Don't be just saying stuff to say stuff.
Say what you mean what you say. Yeah. Literally every single thing you could say could have an amazing effect on someone and a terrible effect on someone. And I think really to understand your words completely and to understand what you're saying completely is you got to put yourself in other people's shoes and kind of see how objectively your words would be interpreted. So if you don't want something to happen to you, don't do it to other people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can find me on Instagram at jake.lorenz, and you can find Cole on Instagram at cole.2.kelly. And you can find Niral nowhere because he doesn't have a life. Feel free to follow our podcast Instagram at The Open Minds Pod and our TikTok at The Open Minds. Thanks, everyone. We hope to see you next week. And remember to always keep an open mind.